On the day the US proxy in the Middle East called Israel committed more war crimes by attacking a hospital and a TV channel in Tehran, Iran claimed that it had destroyed another fifth generation of Israeli F-35 fighter jet. If true, this would be the fourth F-35 that the Iranian armed forces would have downed in a war that has continued for just 3 days. From the Iranian army's point of view, this is not a bad strike rate. It's effectively more than one F-35 jet a day. And I'm not even talking about the carnage the so-called weak country has caused across the settler colony with its barrage of ballistic and hypersonic missiles. Anyone who has seen the aerial footage of Haifa and Tel Aviv in the aftermath of the Iranian pounding, they would be forgiven for mistaking these two Israeli cities for Gaza. That's the level of devastation caused by the Iranian missiles. No wonder this settler is crying. I wonder, where was his concern for the civilian population in Gaza?
See behind me, this is the result of the latest barrage of rockets fired at our residential communities by Iran. It's continuing the pattern as we're seeing. Each and every one of these scenes are targeting residential communities, civilians in their homes. Early this morning, our police hotline number got the report of a building that was hit. Our first responders and our bomb squad immediately arrived to the scene so that we can medically evacuate those that were injured together with the other first responders that are here, Home Front Command, the medical services.
You see, the death and destruction of any civilians cannot be condoned, whether they are in Gaza or Israel or in Iran. But this selective outrage that when you are killing indiscriminately in Gaza, when you are mercilessly slaughtering civilians in Tehran, then you don't cry about them. In fact, you justify those acts. But when Iranians do that, then you start crying. Has it ever occurred to you that the war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu, is happily having his population slaughtered to fulfill his genocidal fantasy? Returning to Iranian claim of downing another Israeli F-35, when an Israeli media outlet starts to report the Iranian claim on downing another F-35 fighter jet, then you know this has ceased to be a mere claim. That's because Israel imposes ruthless censorship on free press within the jurisdiction of its occupied territories. Anyone trying to report on the devastation caused by Iranian missiles would have to face severe consequences. A report by Times of Israel said that Iran had claimed to shoot down an F-35 stealth fighter jet near Tabriz. The IDF said that it had no knowledge of such an incident. Of course, the IDF wouldn't have any knowledge about events that heap embarrassment on Israel and expose the much publicized invincibility of its military. The development came on a day Israel committed more war crimes by bombing a hospital and a TV channel in Tehran. Does it sound familiar? Deliberately bombing a healthcare facility and media outlets? This is what Israel and Western genocidal maniacs have always promoted. The West literally funded the complete annihilation of healthcare facilities and brutal slaughtering of close to 250 journalists in Gaza in the last 20 months. Israel is only acting as a foot soldier, but the real culprits behind such horrific atrocities are the leaders from the West who are currently meeting in Canada as part of their G7 summit. When I say that the West has always been against the idea of free press, I have plenty of evidence to support my claim. Tell me one press conference, either at the White House, the State Department, or in the UK, where reporters have the courage to ask penetrating questions to politicians without any fear of reprisals or being cancelled. Remember the press conference at the US State Department towards the end of the Biden administration's tenure? One reporter had tried to discharge his duty to hold the powerful to account, and he was rewarded with this treatment.
Will you recognize the Geneva Conventions apply to the Palestinians?
And again, I'm happy to address questions when we have a chance.
I'm happy to address questions in a moment. Thank you. As we celebrate the return of hostages in Gaza, including Americans, as we look to relief for the people of Gaza, I'm also thinking of all those U.S. citizens who are held wrongfully, who are hostage in countries around the world.
Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Miller says he doesn't know about the Hannibal Directive. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive?
Again, I'm happy to address questions.
No, I want him to answer my question.
I look forward to answering
He's going to
questions.
speak for an hour.
Okay, well, we'll let him speak. We're here for him. Thank you.
He gets to make lots of speeches.
Thank you.
Let him answer some questions. Let him answer some questions instead of making another speech every
Sir,
day.
would you like to be escorted out?
Go away.
You don't have the responsibility to tell me where to go. Do you want to be escorted out or not?
I want him to
Thank you.
answer
Okay,
questions.
then let's be quiet.
I'm a
I look forward to
journalist.
answering questions in a minute.
I'm a
Thank
journalist.
you.
I'm not a potted plant.
Everyone will have an opportunity to ask questions in just a minute. Thank you.
Miller has explicitly told me he will not answer my questions. I'm justified in what I'm doing.
I have no greater pleasure in this job than crossing off a list I carry in my pocket, the names of those who have been arbitrarily detained and unfairly held hostage, unjustly held hostage, and bringing them home, returning them to their families, returning them to their loved ones. Finally, I
Get
just
your
wanted
hands
to share
off
this
me.
morning.
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Answer a damn question.
I look
Do you know
forward to
about the
answering
Hannibal
questions in a few
Directive?
minutes.
Do you know about Israel's nuclear weapons? Everybody from the ICJ. I was sitting here quietly, and now I'm being manhandled by 2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press? You pontificate about a free press?
The national shame in the UK, called the BBC, has time and again proven this assertion that the West and free media do not go hand in hand. Western politicians prefer a slave media because they don't want the masses to be educated and then rise up against their corrupt and severely compromised politicians. After Israel bombed the building of the Iranian state media while journalists were busy in their live broadcast, Iran decided to avenge this strike by ordering Israeli media outlets in Tel Aviv to evacuate since it intended to return the favor. Watch this broadcast by this Persian TV channel.
جمهوری اسلامی هشدار تخلیه برای ساکنین اراضی اشغالی صادر کرد. تخلیه کنید تا زنده بمانید. منابع خبری به نقل از نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران اعلام کردند طی ساعات آینده نیروهای مسلح ایران در این ناحیه همچنان که طی روزهای اخیر در محدوده تل‌آویو عمل نموده برای حمله به زیرساخت‌های نظامی رژیم صهیونیستی وارد عمل خواهند شد. وجود شما در این ناحیه جانتان را به خطر می‌اندازد. اما دقایقی قبل اطلاع پیدا کردیم که ایران دستور تخلیه دفاتر مرکزی N12 کانال 12 اسرائیل و N14 کانال 14 اسرائیل را صادر کرد. این دستور در واکنش به حمله خصمانه دشمن صهیونیستی علیه مرکز اطلاع رسانی جمهوری اسلامی ایران صادر شده. حمله‌ای که ساعتی قبل ساختمان شیشه‌ای صدا و سیما واقع در تهران را هدف قرار داد. هرچند شماری از همکارانمان در این حمله مورد اصابت قرار گرفتند، اما همکاران ما همکنون با قدرت و مصمم به وظیفه خطیر اطلاع رسانی به شما مردم عزیز ایران ادامه خواهند داد.
Meanwhile, war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu once again appeared on another US TV network to confess that his real motive was the regime change in Iran. His confession means that Iran's nuclear program was always an excuse. Another confession on a war crime, but will the corrupt politicians from the West currently gathering in Canada speak up? No, because the person committing this war crime is their proxy in the Middle East. Netanyahu once again appealed to the Trump support base by asking for US involvement in an illegal war that he started.
The president flatly rejected a plan, an opportunity that the Israelis had to take out the supreme leader. Do you understand his concern? My understanding is his concern is that this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already.
It's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict. We've had half a century of conflict spread by this regime that terrorizes everyone in the Middle East, has bombed the Aramco oil fields in Saudi Arabia, is spreading terrorism and subversion and sabotage everywhere. That's the forever war is what Iran wants. And they're bringing us to the brink of nuclear war. In fact, what Israel is doing is preventing this, bringing an end to this aggression.
But it seems he's not going to have much luck with them this time around. People like Tucker Carlson have already made up their mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this can be stopped, but it's going to require a really tough step, which is to say to our client state, we love you, we want to help you, we don't think you're acting in your own interests, but we could debate that, but what we're not going to do is imperil American national security or the American economy or America itself on your behalf. We're not going to do that because that's immoral for us to do that. Our population doesn't want it, and we're saying this with love, but no, as you would say to a child.
But the real question is that he is the war criminal who is making confession after confession and leaving absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind that his real intention to drag his country into an illegal war and risking the lives of his own people for his own political gain. Forget about expecting the Western politicians to speak up. What about the Israelis? Don't they see the real game plan? This war criminal is throwing you guys in the fire. Anyway, in another blow to the Israeli economy, Israel's Bazan refinery group in Haifa has shut down all operations after a direct Iranian missile strike on its facility yesterday, causing major infrastructure damage. Bazan reported that a key power plant supplying electricity and steam to the complex was significantly damaged, forcing a full shutdown of the refinery and all subsidiaries. We had reported both these incidents from this channel in the last couple of days. As I said before, this is massive since this refinery served as a lifeline for Israel. Anyway, Iran has begun launching its fresh round of retaliatory attacks as I speak, and I will keep you updated from my Telegram channel on this. Do subscribe to that channel. Thank you very much for your support of this channel and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.